approval of meeting minutes. So we have 2.5, 3 minutes, different sets of minutes to approve. I'll count the last ones as half. So let me start with August, nope, wrong button, August 7th. Okay. I don't think we had any. Oh, Marcia had one grammatical addition under here. I don't think there was anything substantive. Any additional comments or changes from planning and zoning?
Nope.
I move to approve the minutes as established for August 7th, 2024.
Okay. Motion by Marcia, second by Ed. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Motion approved. Those meeting minutes are approved. So then we'll go to August 13th. This was our special meeting. Where we were talking about the RV ordinance and and the land use clearance. We had Marcia wanted to update the language on the bottom of page 1 to read, the commissioners began discussions on section 8, violations, enforcement, and penalties, and expressed the need for legal input on this section. That's a good clarification. And I think that was it. Any other comments or changes on these minutes?
Move to approve. Go ahead.
Motion approved. As corrected.
Okay. So
Should I second it? Oh, you're seconding it. Okay, sorry, you second it.
Go, Brian. Go.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
No, all good. Motion passes with 4 ayes. Okay, then the last minutes to look at are from September 18th, in which we didn't have a quorum. So Marcia and I did want to update the language to say that Brian Whitney had an excused absence as well. Brian had texted me, but I was unable to check my phone at the time because I was also excused. So.
Oh yeah, I apologize about that. You can. I don't know what my punishment is for unexcused, but you guys can leave it however feels fit. I've been called worse.
No.
Your punishment was your original showing tonight showed your split personality.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, sorry about that. We had it finally happened that we had a nutty night at the clinic. So, but thank you guys for understanding.
Yeah. All good. We had an emergent situation. So, anybody want to make a motion for these minutes?
Well, my only question is just for clarification, and that is, do we need these minutes, or are you doing it so that we have sort of proof of timing here? Because I'm happy to approve them, So I motion to approve the minutes explaining our canceled meeting.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Yeah, no. I think it's important that we approve these so that they're part of the record as to why that didn't happen. So
right, because it actually took place until it didn't. If we had canceled it before the meeting, obviously we wouldn't need anything. But because we're present, we should say why. Okay, well good.
Okay. So any further discussion then?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Great. Okay. Minutes are approved. Thanks, everybody. We'll stop sharing. Okay. And welcome, Melanie. Hope you're doing well. We did approval of 3 different batches of meeting minutes. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start off old business. Item number 1 is update from town council from Ms. Luann.
Okay. Yeah, the main thing that I want to make sure that we get across tonight is that we have that joint meeting on Friday, 1:00 at the community center in person, but it's also available to join virtually. If as many people can, that would be great. So on that agenda is the animal ordinance, also wanting to combine it with the RV ordinance. But we also just got word that we need to do an airport overlay, and that is due December 31st. And the subdivision ordinance is due November 30th. So I kind of wondered if we needed to work on the animal and the RV at the moment with the bandwidth with both groups, if we can do public hearings and really put the thought into it. But we can discuss that on Friday. Okay, and so then other things that we've done, we did updates on our strategic planning, one meeting a month. We do that. Everybody's moving along quite well on things, and I don't think I need to, mention all of those. But the other big thing that we have going on is at the old school, the CCC. We did get 2 bids to do the architectural work on it. One came in at $473,000 from the indigenous group in Albuquerque. The other was from Uncommon up in up north, we'll call it, was 176. The UDB could not move forward on Friday the 13th. They said they could not move forward until they got some legal counsel. And the last word is that they don't have a lawyer to do that yet. So we're waiting for our attorney to figure out how to move forward to keep the project going, since we've got that EPA grant, so that we don't lose that, as it's the town's grant. So that's kind of a problem at the moment. The solar panels are coming. We were looking for some storage for them, but we've got a lot of panels that should power up either the old school or the community center, or maybe both. On the Bluff Waterworks strategic planning, they added Jen to the committee, so there'll be 3 town, 3 community, and 3 at large, or 3 community, and then 3 from Bluff Waterworks. And so it'll be noticed, since they'll all 3 be there and other people will be there. She'll notice it just to make sure there's no worry. We have the road project back on the Calf Canyon Road back to the pond. They're working on that to fix that erosion that's going on. We had that EMS breakfast that supports the local volunteers, the fire and the emergency, the EMS guys. And the fort is kind of suggesting that maybe they may or may not want to host it in the future. So we're going to give them a few months and then try to keep that connection connected. Erin is our emergency manager. She's the one that's posted as our manager. So if we need help on a big FEMA sort of thing, you can't just call above. You can't call the state. You've got to go through all the channels. So she's got all the training on that. Then she'll delegate somebody else, probably back to the fire department or something. If she's not in town and not available, then it gets delegated. She also applied for a portable generator, got that grant. It's about a $50,000 generator. Our match is going to be about $16,000, and then USDA is going to do the rest. And it is a portable one, so it'll be on a trailer, and probably have to be some power to, hook it into a building, or decide how that all's going to work. Let's see. Yeah, that was my main thing. But the airport overlay just came to our attention just a few days ago, and Erin just talked about it last night. But it is due by the end of December. Okay, Marcia.
Just on that very subject, Mayor Lepinen was at my house today for something totally unrelated, and said she had just met with Mac in the morning about a bunch of stuff. And on the list was the fact that the airport has been delayed. So we do not have that deadline. I don't want to speak out of turn. She will put that, she'll say that on the agenda, but she said, Max said, oh, the legislature already decided to change that. So by the time we hear about things, they've worked out some changes.
Okay.
So anyway, but we'll see you Friday either way.
Right. And that overlay is basically to say, if somebody buys something, is going to build something, have to let them know that there could be noise and, that kind of thing, so that people don't build subdivisions right up. That's kind of the goal of it. But then it's also building height for safety. Anyway, it's a mile radius. It's 5,000 foot radius from some point.
It's a radiating circle of heights and building density. And we did it for the county many years ago. We did an overlay zoning to the airport. So but sounds like we can delay the discussion of it a little bit. That'll help.
Yeah, that'll help, because that was coming up pretty quick. I think it's pretty outlined kind of what needs to happen, but still, just to do the public hearings and all the rest that takes place, takes some time. So, anybody else have a question?
Congrats on the generator. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think I think that's money well spent for, as often as the power goes out, and if it goes out for, a few days, we usually always just some hours now, but so we'll see it. She's got to still find the exact one and the trailer, and then how to hook it into a building and all that. We still have to, that sort of thing, figure out. But yeah, that was Aaron. The connection.
How did the breakfast turn out?
Really well. They made like $3,200, a little more than $3,200. There were 80 people, something like that. It didn't get as big a turnout as other years when it was right on 9/11. They had some conflicting plans on 9/11 this year, so that's why it was bumped a couple things. But yeah, it was great. Twin Rocks donated the food. Francis brought things over, the fort guys and the town council and the firefighters, they served, and yeah, it was good.
Sweet. Thanks, Luann. Any other questions for Luann?
I was just curious what for the proposals for the CCC, the firms, those bids that you got, is that period of time still open? How long is that, or is it closed?
No, it's closed, and the EPA pretty much, we don't have a choice. That's the problem. Yeah, we don't have a choice, because it's the low. We have to take the low bid unless there's a real problem, and that's 176. So there's 300,000, but they really want the other one, and
understandable. But that's a pretty big price difference.
Yeah, and there was some confusion on how much of a remodel we do on that this EPA grant was really infrastructure stuff. This is for fire suppression, insulation, heating, cooling, kind of the boring stuff.
Yeah.
So those bigger things, if need be in the future, they could make a big entry or something. But anyway.
I see. Yeah. So that represents kind of the difference in those two bids. I was just curious at how disparate there was such a big difference in those numbers.
That's what it kind of looks like. They were directing it just to UDB. It's also a little bit complicated with our condo thing, with town involved and the nonprofit. Right. But the other one seems totally great. They've done some other work on things, and so anyway, we'll see what happens. Okay. Alrighty.
Cool. Thanks, Luann. So item 2 kind of rolls into what Luann was saying, update on the RV Ordinance public hearing in a joint session with Town Council. So we'll be doing that this Friday, 1 to 3, virtual or in person. Can any of the commissioners not attend on Friday? Okay.
I might end up virtual, but I'll still at least be virtual. I'm going to hopefully be there in person, but if not, I'll be online.
No problem. Thanks. And Malia will still be out, but we knew that when picking a date. So it does sound like we should be pairing an RV ordinance public hearing with the subdivision ordinance public hearing. So we kind of that puts a little fire under us to finish the subdivision ordinance with the help of the Hanson group. But yeah, any questions or anything else on item 2?
Well, have we, oh, never mind. Well, we can talk about it under, 4. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay. And then item 3 under old business is related to, I think, Luann, correct me if I'm wrong, we have here update on the noise ordinance request from town council. I think the noise ordinance request has turned into an animal dogs issue more so. Is that correct, Luann?
That's what is, it seems like there's a lot right now, a lot that is being expected to all happen all at once. So the animal ordinance is some aggressive dog problems, but the noise ordinance was the idling and that kind of thing more. So, and it's the Jake breaks coming into town so that the deputies can, put signs back up, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, a couple things then.
Yeah, I think maybe discussing that with more than just me at the joint meeting would probably be the thing to do, and all of us can decide which ones we're moving forward on.
Gotcha. Okay.
In the time, because definitely subdivision needs to be done. So.
Yeah, and the idling, we already had a draft from years ago, so.
She did, Mayor said that she'd like to pile as many things into the hearings, but you got to have time to let people put the ideas out, and then you've got to tweak all of those ordinances. So it's just, and we're still in the process of doing the disconnect up on top, and we're still in the process with this school. So I don't want to overload just brain capacity for people to, do the right thing. So.
Okay. Yeah, the other night I heard really loud Jake breaks. I was like, we have to work on this.
Well, especially over at the canyon, coming down Cow Canyon, that's where they really like to let it rip, So anyway, there's a bunch.
Yeah. Okay.
And she also said that she wants to put on the agenda on our procedures to approve your guys' schedule for meetings of the next year. And I guess it's in our procedures, but it's something that we haven't done.
Okay. I will put that on our agenda for next meeting because we also need to talk about commissioner terms.
Okay. I think she's got it on for Friday's agenda.
Okay. Great. All right. Lots of administrative stuff, but okay. Moving on to item 4, we do have a land use clearance application from Steve Helgerson. So let me share my screen once more. As a reminder, this is for a mobile home that has already been moved into place, so it would be a retroactive land use clearance. Melanie, was the fee paid for that land use clearance? Do you know?
It was.
Okay, great.
Erin told us it was.
Okay, so can you all see?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So, Madam Chair, I have a question before we get started, and that is just procedurally correct information about there is no such thing as retroactive. If someone does something without a permit, it's not supposed to happen. So my question is, and I have no problem, at least that I know of, with this, it's just the first time it's been brought to us in this manner. So I would like clarification of what it means to us to be telling someone, oh, you did something without a permit, but looks like you meet everything, so you're okay. So or not. In other words, we could also say, hey, you didn't meet everything. But can you tell me, did you find out anything about how we do this?
No, I haven't talked to the town lawyer or anything. We were notified by the public that this had been done. We contacted Steve Helgerson and said, we've noticed this. Please please submit a land use application form so that we can verify that you're meeting all the requirements for this. So if we do not approve the land use clearance tonight, I'll have to consult with our ordinances and I guess town manager and mayor as to how to proceed. But we haven't had the situation before, and I haven't played out all the possibilities yet.
I just have real gut feeling here that this is important, because our neighbors are our friends and everything's fine. And we, and someone pointed it out and we went back and said, this is incorrect. But is everyone going to just move things and build things and then go, oh yeah, wait, I forgot to get a permit? So I just want to understand our process.
Yeah, I don't think I can add anything at this point, but it comes back once again to this enforcement issue that we bring up every single meeting. So Ed, go ahead.
I think Marcia has raised the pertinent point here, and we might be up against something where we will see something like this again at some point, and we'll probably treat it the same way if we approve this one. But at some point, there might be a denial. And then the question comes, okay, now you're denied. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
But and that's where we're going with this part of the discussion. But before even talking about this as a group, the idea is we could deny this one too. In other words, maybe one of us noticed something in this and we're about to say it at the meeting. And like I said, and by the way, I don't even see a representation of Steve or his, anyone for this presentation at our meeting. I'm just concerned that it's the kind of thing where people ask for forgiveness instead of permission, and that's not legal. That's not how it goes. So I'm just a little concerned here that we should have some information before we do this, or we do this, but we hold off any signatures until we get clearance. We could go that way, where we say, hey, Chris, to our attorney, we say, we went through the paperwork and we accepted or denied. And now what do we do? I don't know. I'm sorry, Amanda. I probably should have asked this before, but I wanted it to be public knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a motion to approve this one.
Wait, to approve the LUC?
Yes.
Well, we haven't even talked about it or looked at it as a group. So
Well, and now we got a motion on the floor. If we get a second, we can talk about it as it stands. If we don't get a second, maybe the land use clearance doesn't get approved.
Well, it's okay. So you're saying go ahead and second it for discussion, which is something that many meetings do. We just not have done as our procedure. In the past, we've always discussed and then made a motion. But if you said already that you're going to approve it, I could second it for discussion and still vote no.
Oh, sure. You can always do that. A second is not committed to an approval.
I understand. So, Amanda, how would you like to proceed?
If you'd like to second, then we can open it for discussion. Otherwise, as motion will fail, we will discuss it and then somebody could do another motion. That doesn't matter.
Okay, I will go ahead and second it for discussion.
Okay. So now let's open it for discussion.
Okay.
I did let Steve know about the timing of this meeting tonight. If we did have questions for him.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep scrolling until somebody has a concern. Naturally, my biggest concerns were, does it meet setbacks? Sure.
From the map and from his measurements, it does.
Right. And then where that septic arrow is, he did submit the paperwork from the existing septic. So I would think we have to accept that in terms of saying that it does exist. So
correct. Yeah. Because we don't put parameters on what that approval looks like.
Yeah.
But it was a similar mobile home replace inside thing. So.
Right. When it was Jackie's. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't see any concerns with the land use clearance.
No, does this have the map stuff that, there it is, yeah. So it's basically across from his house onto the corner there. And I was about to drive by this afternoon when I was waylaid by some friends and didn't make it. So it appears to be sitting where one already sat and has all the correct.
Yes, that's part of the reason that I think it's worth approving.
Right. Well, but you have to be careful that the one wasn't sitting illegally before.
Yes.
when he sets something on it. So, yeah, I really don't believe that I have a problem of this particular piece of paper, this LUC. I have a problem with procedure. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Marcia, Brian, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the land use clearance looks, I don't see any red flags on it, but I guess the question I have as we were talking, so I'm listening to you guys talk about it too, though, is what are the precedences for these situations in other places? And I know things like Providence, where I used to live. If you do something without a permit and then it's brought to the attention, as long as things meet the requirements, you're often just pay a penalty and then are brought and you can still get a permit. And then if it's out of compliance, then you have the issue of having to meet those requirements or tear down. So I guess for me, the question is not, I feel like we should approve it because it meets it. And but I do agree with that, there's a question to be answered in terms of what is our procedure moving forward. And I kind of land on if it's not being, I don't know, if it's not done maliciously and you didn't get the paperwork, but then you have to get the paperwork, there has to be a procedure in place to do that, because we're not just going to say no to everybody in that situation.
Brian raised a good point about penalties. Where there's for example, a fine involved, it's in the ordinance. We'd have to do something like that to set it up.
Right. We don't have that. So
Right.
It's sort of just like we can either say, yes, you can do this, and even then, I guess it still always comes back to that question of enforcement of even if they aren't meeting things.
Now, Luann, maybe correct me on this if I'm spoken out of turn here, but I understood that our mayor told the Helgersons that Steve would not be doing any more work for the town and getting paid anything until this is resolved. Is that correct?
That hasn't come up in any meeting.
Okay. So my next question is, what penalties, what would be the consequence of us not approving this at this point?
So I don't think we have an answer right now, because as I've read our ordinance, there's not anything written in it. I will ask, I know the mayor is calling the town attorney this week and she has a list of things to ask. I can ask about this. It may be that in December or January, we start on a sort of penalty or enforcement ordinance or something, or we updated past ordinance. I just don't think we have that answer at this point in time. My hope with this is that, if we approve this, it could set a precedent, but my hope is that this is a signal to people that if you do something without a land use clearance, it will be noticed, and we do require compliance with our setbacks and regulations. Marcia, go ahead.
No, I'm with you on that. Amanda is like, oh, here's one, and we caught you. So we're telling people that we will, make you fill out the paperwork. The key becomes that we have a procedure for this, but if we were to say no, and technically when you say no to something, the idea is that it has to be ripped out. It has to be taken apart because it did not comply. And that's when the people start to argue, oh, I spent so much money moving the RV and doing whatever. And the answer is money never makes the ordinance. In fact, it can't be considered. So in order to save our friends and neighbors money, I say we need to clarify procedure. So my inclination here would be to adjust, and I'm not doing this until we talk. My inclination, which is probably why I didn't want a motion, is to say the motion is that we approve pending proper process from the attorney, saying that it's okay this time and it will be changed. You know what I mean? Just something that categorizes that he got away with it, but you won't. Something in the motion that says we're just going to double check procedure before Amanda signs it. I don't know how to say that, but that's kind of what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. We could say pending review of town attorney.
My question about that approach is what happens if something Chris says throws the thing into a disaster? If we're just doing it pending with something else pending, we may wind up without an approval. And then where are we?
Yeah. I mean, we're asking a lot of questions that we can't answer tonight. So I guess the sort of final question I would put forth to folks tonight is like, what are we comfortable doing tonight, knowing that we don't have answers to all the different what ifs? What
if we said that we approve the motion says to approve the LUC as presented, and with no penalties or changes unless legally presented by the town attorney. Then with Chris, we say to Chris, number one question is, what about something we did retroactively? Is that okay? And number two question, how can we never do that again? So in other words, we're giving Steve approval, but making sure that it's legal we did it.
I'm not willing to change my motion to make that amendment to it, because I think we're raising a town level question and we're just the commission.
Yeah, but as the commission, we're not supposed to do something as I can feel it somewhere in my bones. The idea is we're doing something that's already wrong. He wasn't supposed to do that. How do we correct it? So, I mean, I agree with you. This particular LUC is just fine. It looks like it works. So I am willing to not sort of penalize Steve for our indecision, but I want to know that what we're doing is correct. Does that make sense? Amanda, where are you going? You're thinking hard. Or Brian. Oh, you're muted, Amanda.
Why don't we bring Ed's motion to a vote? So if that motion fails, we can then craft a new motion.
Calling the question.
All in favor of Ed's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
I feel like abstaining
Opposed.
on this vote.
Okay, so Brian, so we have 1 aye, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. So motion fails.
Okay.
I would like to. We all seem to agree that this land use clearance meets our town requirements, except for the fact that it was submitted after the period, or after when it was required. I would like to have the town attorney review it. So I would entertain a motion that the LUC is approved pending review by the town attorney.
And I would second that. Oh, did you make it or you're?
No, I said I would entertain
Okay.
a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the land use submittal by Steve Helgerson, pending approval for retroactive approval from our town attorney.
I honestly feel lost about this, about what the way to approach it is. But I do, yeah.
I'll second that, Marcia.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we're saying then is that, yes, Steve, this proposal is fine and we approve it. But before Amanda signs off on it, she's just going to get procedural correction from Chris. And Chris, I'm thinking Chris is going to say, mistakes happen, go ahead and sign it, but here's what we're going to add to the ordinance, or here's how we're going to cover it or explain it so that we don't run into this again and have people saying, oh, I didn't know. That kind of, we just need to cover our butts. So that's where this is coming from. And that way also we're not telling Steve he has to take anything down, or until, if the attorney says, well, you're not allowed to do this, he's got to pull it for an hour while you approve it and give it back to whatever. We're ready to go. But I firmly believe he's going to say, use this one to be done, but here's what you're going to write in the future.
Great. Ed, go ahead. Oh, you just muted yourself. Sorry.
I would like to have some assurance that Steve can still work for the town and get paid after whatever we do.
Well, that's a totally different question. Luann said it wasn't brought up as an official decision. So
I haven't been notified of that.
Yeah, that's not something any of us. Luann, if it hasn't been a piece of a vote at a meeting or any sort of significant subject, I can't imagine that he can't have a be part of the town council. I mean, town workforce.
That's how I feel about it, but I don't, he works intermittently already. There's been rumors to that, but not anything that's been voted on or approved.
Then it seems to hold. I mean, Ann might have said, or someone might have said to him, hey, I can't hire you if you're doing something against code. That could have been part of the language of someone talking to Steve, because it could be true. If you are a town board member and someone's doing something incorrect, even if it's just by accident and didn't know, then you could say, hey, you need to fix this, or we won't be able to let you work with us because you've done something that didn't match our ordinance. So she may have thrown it out there. And Ed, I agree with you. We don't want to undermine Steve's job if he has, if he's working, but we're saying actually that this is approved and he did the actual work okay. He just didn't do it in a timely, correct process.
Yeah, if it's okay with everybody, because we can't verify right now if that was the case, I don't want to include that in the motion, but Ed, I'm happy to send Ann an email on your behalf or our behalf if you would like.
Yeah, tell her that we did this. Yeah. I'll call the question so we can vote on it and see if we're going to do it that way.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay.
Okay. So motion passes unanimously. So next steps, I will send this to the town attorney and copy the mayor to let them know that the approval of this is pending the lawyer's review. And that's what I'll do with regard to the motion. I can also send Ann an email addressing this question of whether or not Steve was penalized in a different way. So, okay. I will also let Steve know what's going on. So let me just make a note.
A little disappointed that he wasn't here.
He said he was at a meeting that he couldn't get out of.
Okay.
I let him know it was being discussed, and he said he could not get out of the meeting.
Gotcha. Thank you, Luann. That helps.
Great, just made myself a note. Okay, thanks everybody. Let's move on to item 5 under new business. Probably should have been under old business, but we have a new version of the subdivision ordinance to review. So I want to just be upfront and apologize. I have not reviewed the new subdivision ordinance. And I apologize that I've not done that. We can spend some time looking at it tonight. My thought is that we invite one of the Hanson group to our next meeting for final questions and final review, because it sounds like we need to get moving, keep this rolling so that we can meet the, it sounds like end of November deadline. So are folks generally good if we invite one of them to the next meeting on October 16th?
Absolutely, we better.
Okay.
So, Amanda, I did read it and put some comments mostly on that last half, because that's where we had stopped with them last time. Does that make sense? And I don't care. Yeah, I don't care what you're doing tonight. I just wanted to say that there are some comments added later, but I didn't go back.
We could spend 10 minutes looking through your comments if that works for folks. I think they start on section 503 subdivision improvements. Is that correct?
That sounds right. It was something to do with, I mean, they said, we sort of stopped at one point and they said there'll be more to do later. And one of the things that'll be interesting is that they keep talking about how the legislature was still making changes. So we'll have to see if what we're doing goes with what they end up doing. And that's where we need the Hansons to come along and keep us in line. So
correct. Yeah. Okay, so this section is the improvements that will be required of subdivisions, and it's based on, as Corbin said, what is like frequently required in other municipalities. So it's sort of a best practices list that we can adjust as needed. Looks like Marcia's first flag is that, hey, we don't have sewer, so we should make sure that reflects that. I would agree. Marcia, your second.
Let's see. All utilities shall be provided underground with the following exception. Transformers, pedestal, fire hydrants, and other appurtenances normally associated with underground utility installations are permitted on the surface. So doesn't that read funny to you? Shouldn't it say that these things that are not normally associated with underground are permitted on the surface? I just thought the word "not" was missing, but I'll let you guys read it. I'll be quiet.
I did read it a few times before the meeting. I think you're right, but maybe we leave it and ask them.
That's fine. Leave it purple and I'll see what they were trying to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a knot missing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just leave it then and we'll,
Great.
Okay.
The next flag was
It's a big one.
requiring, streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks.
So in the real world, when you have a subdivision plat will show you everything on it, including streets, sidewalk, curb, gutter. And since we don't have that here, the decision has to be to say to Bluff, you're about to build a subdivision. We'd like you to put in curb, gutter, and sidewalk because we're tired of runny roads and poor drainage in our streets, or whatever we're about to say. So that would be, from here on, you need to do this. However, the reality is this is Bluff and nobody necessarily wants those things. So I believe that's one that we actually leave out, that says, all it says is proper development of streets up to code kind of thing, and not the curb and gutter part.
I would agree. And later on, it addresses paved versus unpaved.
Right, exactly. But this was like, we want all of this, and it's like, actually, I don't think we do. But we could actually be speaking of the future, as in the word planning and zoning, and saying that we should make people build more substantial subdivisions. It's just we don't picture that the way we live here.
Mm-hmm. Brian and Ed, do you have any thoughts on this?
It seems as though it is incongruent with our current infrastructure to include those improvements. I wonder if, there's a way to word it differently, just so that it could, I don't know, if it does become a thing in the future, like Marcia's saying, with the planning aspect. Well, we would require it if it became things that were the norm, but certainly not something we do.
Well, go ahead, Amanda.
I guess we're just saying what's required. A subdivision could certainly opt into doing those things, but it doesn't seem to match the aesthetic of the town. I also worry about drainage. I mean, the less permeable surface you have, the more flooding can be a problem.
Right. Although curb, gutter, and sidewalk is the reference to the good drainage part. The only picture I have is if someone came along for a subdivision that ran along our highway or ran along some major area, and we said to them, hey, you're actually going to become a new part of the city, or the town, we want you to have the better sidewalks for allowing people to get to this highway, things like that. So sometime it may depend on location where we say that. It just doesn't fit with what we do on most everything. So
one question I'm having right now too is, does it hurt to leave it there?
Yes.
Like, does it, because it says that it is required for all the following improvements basically, as it's written, it's saying if someone were to come and do a subdivision, their subdivision would have to include those 4 things. As it's written, is that what it's saying? It's not like there's no gray area. It's like,
correct.
Yeah.
If you leave it in, it's a requirement.
Right.
So streets we want them to build streets, and we want them to. They're going to have to do all the drainage and stuff, and that's in here. That's under.
Yeah, those are the next 2, C and D.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, they're certainly not here, so I wouldn't want to require them on people. Streets, we want those.
For now, I'm going to do a delete as a track change, but we can see what.
Okay, good.
We'll leave it in. Oops, I accidentally cut out the C.
Okay.
Sorry, my computer is being very slow. Okay.
Good.
Then streetlights, signs, and monuments. This comes back to our dark sky thing. I think my preference here would be to just say street signs.
Okay, wait. So we're in requirements, and the requirements are streetlights, signs, and monuments. And we're saying, I said, what do we do about dark sky? So in a subdivision, can they not have dark sky compliant streetlights if they want them? In other words, at a dark intersection on the back side of the subdivision, if they wanted a street lamp. I don't know. I'm jabbering here about. I agree.
They could put them in. It just wouldn't be. I suggest we take it out as a requirement.
Okay. And then the signs, meaning street signs and other identification signs, like this is the name of the subdivision kind of thing. Is that true? What's a monument?
I don't know what a monument is.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was a Utah thing. Maybe as a New Englander, I don't know what that means, but that seems like
Well,
we want to require monuments.
legally, isn't a monument part of that survey system? Isn't that what they could be referring to? But I don't know. So go ahead and put your question right there.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to delete that and then just suggest that we make it just say.
Oh, in
Yeah.
planning and zoning, a monument can refer to a physical structure that marks a survey point or a corner, or it can refer to a protected area or preserves historic or scientific objects. So
Okay,
there's a
so-
couple of different monuments, but those actually sound like they might be important to have.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Signs and monuments.
There you go.
Especially in Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, where the surveying is so good to begin with. The old surveying. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Great. Did somebody have their hand raised? Is that, or no? Okay.
Oh, I was trying to hit the talk button and I hit the hand button. I have to keep muting and unmuting because I'm at the clinic.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Let's come back to this after we review it.
Okay.
Sorry, maybe I'm the only person that hasn't reviewed it, but then they put in design standards and they're referencing like statewide specifications, which seems nice. Is this, Marsha, is this your next question?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, so this is the one I asked that night about, is Utah a fence in or a fence out, and I couldn't remember. And he answers us in one of these, found that Utah is a fence in jurisdiction. Okay, so fence in means, as far as I understand this, the rancher is going to fence his cows so they can't walk into the subdivision. So I just, I guess the way it's written kind of answers. You can take off well, wait a minute. Why did I write it that way? If the owner of the livestock shall have the responsibility to fence in his livestock to prevent the animals from coming onto the property. Okay, you may take off my question because somehow I either read that as being, anyway, I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah, I think I am too. Because if you have livestock within subdivision, it means you have to fence them in. And
Yep.
then generally Utah is a fence in jurisdiction. So
Okay,
there's trespass law to protect people. So
okay. Sorry, I think who knows what I was writing and reading. Okay.
no, all good. Do we want to keep going, or I think, what do we have left on the agenda? I think we just have.
I think we're almost done. Did I write it? I don't think I wrote anymore. Can't remember. How much more do we have on this? 50405.
Sorry, I'm in the wrong tab.
There's a couple more that you added.
Just-
Topography and arrangement. It was about turn
The
lanes
turn lane.
and who's responsible for turn lanes.
That's such a good flag. Yeah. So we leave that in and ask them to add that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Good point. Those are expensive.
Yep. Okay.
Then you added G, which was the street lights.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Require installation of says a designated land use authority and shall be approved by town in the dark sky compliant. So. Oh, so Amanda was saying we don't want street lights at all. Oh, that was the question. Should we have street lights and they must comply, or should we have no street lights? Do you think there's a way to say, if you show us someplace that it's necessary, it can go as long as it meets dark sky? Or do you think we should say no requirement?
Well, we've already said above there's no requirement, but here we should say if you're putting in street lights, they need to be down.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because that's all I want is if someone were to say, hey, look, we're building way down the highway and there's no lights out there. So we need, 2 street lights at the entrance or whatever they come up with, then we could say, all right, you could have them, but they must meet the.
And with outdoor lighting ordinance, that's what's
Oh,
called.
yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Or shall be. I guess they use shall instead of must.
Yep. You shall.
And then
Dirt roads in our subdivisions because we still have dirt roads in our town, or do we pay? Oh, so that's all about the paving. Let's see.
Yeah.
Sidewalks shall conform, all road pavement shoulders. So we just need to talk to them about how you write. The Hansons need to write this to say, if you do this improvement, like you want to pave the roads in your subdivision, go ahead and pave them and live up to the street. They shall be to street standards, which they say. I guess this is saying if you want to do it, you can do it, right?
yeah, because it says said surfacing shall be of the such character as is suitable for the expected traffic, meaning it could be dirt.
Okay.
Maybe we should just ask them to clarify that that's what that means.
Yeah, I think I just want a good way to put it is clarification, please. that we just want to be able to say to people, you don't have to necessarily pave everything, but if you do, you'd have to live up to standard. You'd have to do it up to standard. Some of this stuff becomes that usual, the legalese goes in a circle, so you don't know what it's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was your last.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
even I.
Thanks. Well, I commit to spending some time in this, and then I will email
Okay.
the Hanson group. Let me just make a note of that. Hanson group, to get them on our next agenda. So yeah, hopefully we can get our final changes to them by that meeting. I don't think we need a work session if we all spend some time on this before the meeting. So, okay, everybody good to move on? Our last item on the agenda is items for next agenda. So I have, so far I have commissioner terms that some are expiring, subdivision ordinance discussion and finalization, schedule of meetings for next year, assuming that is a continuation from our joint work session, and then maybe penalties for these retroactive land use clearance or retroactive applications. Anything else we want to see on that next agenda?
I think we should leave it like that because we're going to know more after our joint session of what we might have in front of us that night too. If they say, well, read this real quick or something. So.
Okay. All right. Anything under the last item on our agenda? Any others?
Move to adjourn.
Or did you have another, Marcia? Or?
No, I was going to say officially Lashana Tova, which is Happy New Year, but I forgot I said it before the meetings.
Mazel tov.
I second the motion to adjourn.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Amanda.